Welcome to Vermontitude, a collaborative effort between Great Eastern Radio, the Brattleboro Reformer, and BCTV to bring you the stories behind the stories on the topics you want to learn more about. Because there's always more, so there'll always be Vermontitude. Hosted by me, Peter Fish Case. Welcome to Vermontitude. New episodes drop every Tuesday and can be found by going to vermontitude.com, reformer.com, brattleboro.tv, and locally on Comcast Channel 1078. We come to you from our studios at the Innovation Box on Landmark Hill. I'm Peter Fish Case, and each week I cover the topics that are of concern to Windham County and the towns that reside within its borders. Joining us today, Charles Soucy. He's the Vice President of the Connecticut River Valley Trout Unlimited. Did I get that right?
Connecticut River Valley chapter of Trout Unlimited.
Okay, so I left out the word chapter. All right. Yeah. So what is that?
Yeah. So Trout Unlimited is a national nonprofit. The mission is based around the protection, conservation, and restoration of clean, cold water habitat throughout the United States.
Okay.
And so there's the national organization that does a bunch of the science and restoration work. Then there are individual chapters regionally across the U.S. And so we are specifically the chapter for the southeast corner of the state of Vermont. So we're from the Massachusetts border, the Connecticut River, all the way to the spine of the Green Mountains. And then on up, we're just shy, we're sort of between the Black and White rivers there on the northern side. Okay.
So there was a lot of words there. Mm-hmm. If we could, like specifically, this whole thing, and you're doing a fundraiser right. That is coming up later in the week, and it's showing a film about fly fishing.
Correct.
So do you fly fish, or do you just sort of protect the waterways where people fly fish, or both?
Yeah, it is a mixture of both. So the idea being that fly fishing is sort of a traditional means of entry for a lot of people. Fly fishing tends to be very focused towards the trout species, and trout species are very dependent upon cold and clean water.
Right.
So while trout is in the name, the mission expands beyond that. So it is, again, we're working towards education and engagement, getting people out into the environment and appreciating these natural habitats. It's also, getting people to, once they're engaged, to care about, to fundraise, to take part in conservation projects, restoration projects. So, we do all sorts of things from, tree plantings, riparian, streamside riparian restorations. We do in-stream habitats, work. We do education with local schools. And so it's all meant towards getting people out into these environments, building an appreciation and engagement with the environment, and then finding ways to protect, restore, and conserve those environments. Because yes, trout are sort of the primary species that will wind up benefiting from it, but there are many different species that benefit from it as well, all sorts of fish, reptile, amphibian, and even mammals and birds as well.
Right, which makes sense because you're working with the Connecticut River Conservancy, mm-hmm. and that's kind of their jam as well, is kind of protecting the waterways and watersheds and, mm-hmm. and doing things like that. So how do these two things pair? I mean, how do they sort of come together to do this?
Between the Connecticut River Conservancy and our organization? Yeah. So the Connecticut River Conservancy is very focused on the Connecticut River watershed.
Right.
And so they're very their work is very centralized in that geographic location. Trout Unlimited, as a national organization, operates throughout the U.S. And in, any environment that nominally has trout habitat, but also, just, again, going for clean, cold water environments. So we specifically, as a chapter, our region is, again, the southeastern corner of the state.
Right.
So we often partner on a lot of different projects, but we're not tied to specifically working in waterways that drain to the Connecticut River. So that frees us up a little bit in terms of where we can work and what we can work on. We're also just organizations of different sizes and abilities. So there are just certain points where our connections with TU National affords us certain opportunities that Connecticut River Conservancy doesn't have access to, and vice versa. Comparing our chapter to CRC, they've got a good amount of organization and support that we really like taking advantage of, when we can collaborate with them. So it's very similar. We run in parallel a lot, slightly different focus, but we collaborate as much as possible because we often share a lot of the same goals and our missions align really, really well.
All right. So one of the reasons you're here is this Thursday on the 19th at the Latchis Theater, you'll be showing a film. I guess, is it a documentary? Tell us a little bit about the film that people will have the opportunity to see.
Yeah, so this will actually be our chapter's second year running an event like this. So we are bringing the International Fly Fishing Film Festival to town. So it's a selection of 9 short films from around the world that features, really world-class cinematography and has some very high-profile sponsors like Orvis and Trout Unlimited National. And it features essentially adventures throughout the world fly fishing. So doors open at 5:30. You can purchase tickets ahead of time online via the link and as well as at the door. But the films start at 6:30. So there'll be opportunities. We have a couple of co-sponsors. We've already covered the Connecticut River Conservancy. There's, of course, our chapter of Trout Unlimited, but there's also the Deerfield River Valley chapter that is a co-sponsor, and the Deerfield River Watershed Association. They will all be tabling there, so there'll be lots of information, merchandise, opportunities to become engaged in these organizations and participate. We've also got a raffle and silent auction that'll be happening as well. And so the evening will proceed where we'll do the first half of the films, 4 or 5 films. There'll be a short intermission. That'll sort of be everybody's last opportunity to take part put in their bids for the silent auction and buy raffle tickets. And then the last 4 or 5 films will proceed after that. The evening wraps up with, the drawing for the raffle. You do have to be present to take home a prize from the raffle.
Right.
Silent auction, we'll contact you and such. But it's an opportunity because this entire thing is a fundraiser. Yes, it's a fundraiser for our chapter.
Yeah.
But it's also a benefit for the Deerfield River Wild and Scenic Fund. So the Deerfield River, runs both in the state of Vermont as well as through the state of Massachusetts, and is a world-class river in terms of, yes, fly fishing, but just being a natural environment, being very picturesque. And it's something that, people around the world know about. The effort with the Wild and Scenic Fund is to get federal designation for that river, which affords a greater protection. For example, it can no longer be subject to hydroelectric development. No more dams could be built on the Deerfield River. But it also has further protections for that river, both environmental and development protections, to keep it, the high quality environment that it is and its, fairly pristine condition. What it also does is gives access to federal grant funds to many of the towns within the watershed, so that they can get access to funds for protection enhancement of the river within their town limits.
All right.
So, last year we sold, like 125 tickets, and we were able to donate $500 towards the Wild and Scenic Fund. This year, we're hoping to build upon that and, make at least the same size donation as well to the Wild and Scenic Fund.
Okay. So the Deerfield River, when I think of the Deerfield River, I'm over in the Wilmington area in the Deerfield Valley.
Yep.
Same river?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So its headwaters are up in the Green Mountains. Yeah. Proceeds down through the Searsburg and Harriman reservoirs.
Yeah.
And Somerset, and then crosses the border into Massachusetts.
And what happens down there, we have no control of.
Well, as Vermonters, we don't have direct control of what happens on the Massachusetts side. But, we are collaborating with organizations that, do have a say in what happens on the Massachusetts side. Again, the Deerfield River Watershed Association, the Deerfield chapter of Trout Unlimited, and that's where the Connecticut River Conservancy comes in because they are a multi-state organization.
Sure.
And so, the Deerfield on the Massachusetts side is a lot more controlled by dams. There's a whole whitewater industry. A lot of the guides on that side really take advantage of the release of the dams to really kind of nose right up to it and get into brown trout and rainbow trout and such. On the Vermont side, there's less, hydraulic control. And so it's a bit more of that. This is, the river free flowing as it always has been. And again, we get the streams and the headwaters up in the mountains. So, we get to have the part of it where this is sort of what the river would be, if it hadn't been developed. We get more of that aspect of it versus what's in Deerfield.
Yeah, I mean, when you're over in the Wilmington area, the Deerfield River over there is very exactly what you would picture when you think about a pristine kind of country, kind of creek river.
Yeah,
and as a kid, I did some fishing, not fly fishing. Fly fishing, I find to be maddening and takes for me personally. I know that when it's done, it's it's an art form.
Yeah.
Do you fish?
Yeah, I'm actually a part-time guide for fishing and river recreation. So I run Hooked Guide Service based here out of Brattleboro, and I do guide up on the Deerfield into the headwaters. So I do all sorts of different styles of fishing and year round, everything from ice fishing to spinning and spin casting, yes, Western traditional fly fishing, but I also have been putting a lot of my clients onto tenkara, which is a traditional Japanese style of fly fishing. Longer rod, longer line, fewer selection of flies, no reel. It's really a really pared down style of fly fishing where, I have a small little, just a little pouch that holds all of my gear, and it's the rod, and it's just about getting out there and sort of connecting with the natural environment. It's much less about, I didn't choose the right fly, I didn't have the right line, the drag on my reel is blah, blah, blah. It's take the engineering out of it and let's just connect, with the environment, put something in front of the fish and see what you can get for success.
Great.
And it's a style of fishing that was developed for mountain streams. So I find that I can really cover water well and access a lot of pockets of water that traditional, Western fly fishing is just not able to access.
Oh, interesting. All right. So once again, this Thursday at the Latchis Theater, doors open at 5:30.
Yep.
The film festival itself starts at 6:30.
Correct.
What's the website? Where can people go to learn more about this?
So you can go on to our Facebook page. We have a whole event. So you would just, search for the International Fly Fishing Film Festival for Brattleboro.
Okay.
And there's links to it from our page, the Connecticut River chapter of Trout Unlimited. Connecticut River Conservancy has connections to it. Downtown Brattleboro Alliance has connections to it. Latchis Theater has connections to it. So every one of the co-sponsors are involved in this. And it takes you to it's like an event groove page that allows you to buy the tickets there.
And you can just log on there and get that done.
Yep.
Charles, anything we're missing here?
Just that this is a great opportunity to come out and see some really great films. We're really, as a chapter, more interested in getting people to participate. And, a lot of people may kind of view the traditional fly fishing entry is not quite for them, or especially when it comes to we're not just a group of old white men, out there fly fishing.
Right.
What we're really trying to do is engage with young people, women, and members of the BIPOC community so that we can make a connection with people and have them have the ability to see themselves in these environments, see themselves engaged with this work, and maybe even learn a skill. Many of the people that we wind up encountering, their grandfathers knew about this, had these skills, their fathers maybe, but there's a generational gap. And so we're trying to fill that. So if anybody's ever had any interest, any sort of appreciation for water, for the natural environment, being out in the woods, for fish, for, insects, what have you, I'd really encourage you to come out and connect with us. We have a lot of organizations that are looking to find participants, and we'd love to engage with you and give you that opportunity to find your place in those environments and see yourself there. So really, anybody and everybody, come on out, and there's so many raffle prizes you're likely to win.
That's good to know. People like to win stuff.
It's true.
Charles, thanks for jumping on Vermontitude today and helping us and spreading the word about this good work you're doing.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, Peter.
All right.